So thank you very much, Chris. Welcome to the Gerharz podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And you are the operator and owner. I know you didn't want me to call you that because you do everything, but Original Grain and Exo Taco.
Correct.
How long have you been doing that for?
In the business for 6 years now. 4 years Original Grain coming up on, 2 years Exo Taco coming up on. So, yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
They're all my favorites.
Are they?
Yeah. A lot of different dimensions to both of them, so you gotta like them.
What?
Differently.
I know we were part of from day one in Original Grain. What's been the hardest thing, I guess, operating two locations versus the one? And when you started it up, what was the hardest thing?
Well, I think it's just what you said. It's operating it, right? You know, you have two different locations, two certainly diverse groups of people, two different cities, you know, an hour and 10 minutes down the thruway, 90 miles apart. So it's certainly has its challenges operationally, but at the same point in time, we've been able to, I think, develop a really good company culture and have people that want to work there and sort of strive to work there and see sort of the acceleration of the brand. And we've been fortunate.
When I saw the pictures first time you sat down with me and you were showing me the computers and those images and everything, and this is the vibe and what you were going for.
You thought it was crazy?
I was kind of like, this is so cool, will it work? Like, you know, you had seen a lot in California and other places, and I'm like, will this adapt to Syracuse, New York? And it obviously has. I mean, I ate lunch with you one day, and I was like, I would have never tried that, but I enjoyed the hell out. I mean, it was that good, and I've been back several times. Mm-hmm. What gave you that inspiration to sit there and say, hey, here's what I want to do, and here's the kind of food I want? Because it's not something that's out there. Like you were a pioneer in that kind of that field and that area. It's become a little bit more popular now.
Yeah, I guess and no. I mean, you know, I certainly didn't. You know, we're not reinventing the wheel with grain bowls and salads and sandwiches and tacos, right? It's just how can we add a different sort of like layer, one that's got a little bit more, I think, stylings to it, a little bit more brand savvy, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and that was all just again like learned progress from first restaurant concept that I had done in malt to OG and certainly traveling and leveraging relationships to discuss and chat about restaurants with different restaurateurs in New York and LA and really understanding what they gain inspiration from, so you can kind of piggyback that mentality off of what they're trying to sort of educate you upon and find those, I think, specific directives. Latch onto them and gain as much information and insight and visuals as possible, so that you can essentially, paint your own canvas with the concept and the brand and certainly the food.
It's so weird. I was with another customer who was looking at an old Tim Hortons site, and they're trying to vision what to do, and I'm like. And all I could think about was the skateboards and the milk crates and where does that come? Like, is it just something that you see, or?
I think it's just childhood stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I growing up in sort of a hip hop. I grew up. I was an '80s born baby, but a '90s sort of like kid. Mm-hmm. So that was the golden era for hip hop. I remember my first cassette tape when cassette tapes were still a thing that you put into your car. Yeah. When I got my first car, at least. Was like Salt and Pepper, and I just remember having a really big sort of hip hop influence, because I think that culture was moving much more into sort of pop culture and mainstream culture, and not just music but art and fashion and a lot of other things. So skateboard culture and sort of hip hop culture were kind of like along the same lines as far as street art and fashion. And again, it's all those things that we liked in childhood that I thought that, wow, if I can create this really cool, fun, funky space and obviously pair that with some really just good food, why shouldn't it work? But I had the same, I think, apprehensions as most people do when they start the concept and aren't really sure of how a specific demographic will feel or view it as you feel or view it. But I think with enough work and effort and realistically just trying to, enjoying it as much as I think the consumer would, or envisioning that, yeah. I think ultimately they do as well, and they can see that on your face and within your company.
There's so many different groups of people when I'm down there that I see. I see young, I see office people. I see, one time I was there and Mrs. Allen was there having, and, I could see different groups. And to me, the younger generation has done a really nice job of bringing this food out and wanting this and needing that. Do you see that with both XO and OG, or is it just more of...
No, I think it's both, for sure. I think it certainly helps that we're in this sort of, really advanced technological, I think, time period where social media is really just a center point for gathering a lot of your information, a lot of your data, and a lot of your news, right? So for us to, really understand that and have that understanding from the beginning to, certainly now has been helpful. And, certainly having a lot of college students around in a bigger university that, really pulls from a lot of major metropolitan areas is certainly helpful, because I think they understand the concept more than maybe a lot of others wouldn't, that may be a little bit more blue collar in their upbringing, which is certainly advantageous. But it's also, again, much like yourself and what you alluded to 2 questions ago, right?
Yeah.
You were, a person that was much on the apprehensive because you didn't know what the food was like, and you've never heard of goji berries, and you've never probably heard of a lot of the stuff there. But once you tried it, you were like, oh man, this is really cool, and it tastes good, and it's good for you. It's, bang for your buck.
The first one was, the only thing I knew on the menu was the banana bread and ricotta. Yeah. After that, everything else I was completely, there was bee pollen and some other things. Yeah. But that was,
but it's cool, it's funky, it's different.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and even my,
smoothies,
I just think it's so good that I could see where it spans multi-generations, but that generation that really enjoys it, you're saying, or that's driven most of the creativity, you think is your generation, or is it the...
I think it's a mix. I mean, I think our main demographic is certainly millennials, which I fall into that category, but certainly younger generations as well. But again, like you said, I mean, it's cool to walk into both OG and XO and see such a wide variety and a large sort of, I think, demographic of people that are of different age groups. It's cool to walk into OG at lunch and see, a lot of suits in there that are a little bit older, bopping their head and tapping their feet to, hip hop music, and all of a sudden, 20, college students walk in. I think it's cool to be a part of. I think that scene, the food scene in Syracuse, and I also think it's very cool to, be, just doing it.
How much different is? I know when I was selling or working with food service, Rochester was a little different than Syracuse. And everybody said, oh, even though we're only an hour and 10 minutes apart, it's a different demographic, different, Do you find that, or no? Have you found that it's kind of like Syracuse, but...
I think I think the people are much similar, for sure. I think the locations are certainly different. I mean, every city's geographical area is going to be different. You're not going to find the same anywhere. So... yeah, I mean, for the most part, moving and scaling to a city like Rochester was a little bit larger, and certainly has a lot of sort of that promise to be, a really fruitful, dense, populated downtown is really what we're, putting our chips on, to say the least, and so far so good.
Do you want to keep it at like one, say in Syracuse, one in Rochester, one in, say, Buffalo? Do you want to try to, or do you want to go where you think you fit best?
I'm not sure. I think it's go where the demand is. The only reason, I wouldn't say the only reason, but a lot of the reason we went to Rochester is because we had some mutual friends there that had heard and learned about the brand, and they were like, you guys should come here. You guys would really do well. You guys would crush it. And after obviously a few visits and trips and more visits and trips, and certainly, contacting some property managers and landlords in the area, we thought that it'd be a great fit, and developed a cool little community, and hopefully that happens in a different city. And
how about XO?
Yeah, I mean, I think XO has the ability to scale as well. Again, I think now, certainly in the current times, and I know I wasn't really going to talk.
I'm not going to ask.
Yeah, we're just really, again, more focused internal, operations, and kind of scaling that and replicating the operation. And what I mean by that is sort of replicating the steps of service and hospitality, and certainly, execution of food production. How do we now make that a really easy model to replicate internally, so that the next venture, whether it be an existing brand or another one, how is that even more seamless? How is it easier?
So what, for somebody listening, what's the key to your success that you guys have been able to bring? I know I know it's hard work because I've been with you at 8, 9 o'clock at night and you're still working, and I know you're up early in the morning and the hard work, but what else besides that?
I mean, I think it's just a lot of you just got to have the sort of go for it mentality. I think I remember, I forget where I was at some point in time in my early career. This was before the restaurant business, but I heard something along the lines of a lot of people come up with great ideas. 99% of them do, but not a lot of them, if not 1%, are actually willing to execute on it, whether that be financial, sort of handcuff, or whether that be just being scared of starting a business because you don't know, and sometimes the unknown of how to run a business or how to operate or how to manage 5 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 60 employees is sometimes daunting in your mind. And I think that being able to control the mind and ease it and gather information and select certainly people that you can trust and that are trustworthy, but also have the same vision as you do, has certainly been I think a key to our success for sure. Sometimes it's luck, and maybe it's meeting the right people at the right time and establishing those relationships. But I also think that a lot of those things are forced in a good way. I wouldn't have met the people or leveraged the relationships or done what I had done if I wasn't constantly searching for those things, right? Or searching for those people or searching for those products. So, I think it's a mixture of a lot of things that lead to success, but ultimately I think it's, having a positive mindset, positive attitude, and just going after it and doing it.
I've said that a couple times, the relationships, when I'm done here, we're going to a sales meeting, and to me it's important to have a product. It's important to be able to get back to customers and tell them what they need and meet their expectations. But a relationship too is important. And whether it's your customer eating in your dining room or a customer coming in here, they can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. They can eat anywhere. They can go buy equipment anywhere. But to me, it's that, what can I do for you? What can I help you with? What can I make you successful with? It's that long-term relationship that I think builds anybody's business. And so
a lot of people don't realize the emotional connection that I think the service industry really has, even though it might not display it. But again, what I mean by that is just like you said, the friendly hello, the smile, the body language. That's all important, and I think that those things lead to you and certainly me and anybody else who's a consumer, which is everyone, right? Mm-hmm. Recommending certain brands and companies and products that they like and they use. And I'm a firm believer in that. If we execute those things, right, food quality, customer service, and hospitality consistently and at a high level, then that word of mouth will certainly travel faster than my next paid Instagram post or influencer marketing campaign.
Because you're a big social media guy too, right? I mean, you embrace that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. See, this is all new to for me. I'm not. What generation am I?
A baby boomer? Would you consider that baby
no,
boomer?
I'm 53, so what am I? I don't even know what my generation is, but I talk to a lot of my friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm on this or I'm on that," but they're not on all. And so now I've been trying. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm touching Facebook a little bit. I haven't gotten Instagram, but my 85-year-old mother is on Instagram, and I'm like,
"That's cool."
Yeah, but I heard it's one of those rabbit holes that once you get in, be careful because you just I'm on Twitter.
It depends on your definition of a rabbit hole. What I think that outlet is.
But that helps in your business too, right? That's been I talked to Joe at OIP, and he says we put a lot of money into social media because we see the benefit, and that's one of the reasons we've been successful. Yes, the TV commercials are great. We have a great product. We have great relationships. But social media is our big driver where we feel like that's
like I said, I think that a lot of the information and certainly the news now and everything that you want to learn about how your day is getting started, right, is I think captured by social media. I can probably tell myself, 9 times out of 10 when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is probably open my computer, start emails, and then I'm on my Instagram, Facebook feeds to see what's going on. And in there, I see what my friends are doing, and I see how their days are going, and I see, the Syracuse.com ads pop, and all these things are sort of coming at you, and you really are now led to a few different platforms in that regard that are giving you the information that is going to be satisfying to you to get your day going, and even throughout the day too. So it's cool to think about. It's cool to be a part of it, and like I said, it's realistically at the end of the day, that stuff doesn't matter if we're not we don't have good food.
Executing, right.
We certainly don't have good customer service, and we don't have great hospitality. All those things can be thrown out the window.
Going back to a comment you made about your team, have you read the book Good to Great?
Yeah.
Yes, I thought about that. As soon as you said that, you're like, I've got everybody going in the same direction, and that they're on the bus and you're driving the bus. I mean, you said how many people between the three?
60-ish people
Yeah.
total.
It's got to be a lot to juggle.
But again, I think that we have a good, positive culture. Come in, work hard, smile, be positive, do your job, get paid, and go enjoy the other, fruits of your labor after that.
Yeah.
I think that that's the mentality that we've sort of implemented since day one, and I think we've been, like I said, I think we've been fortunate enough to get some really great people alongside of us. Marianne, who certainly runs Exo Taco in that company. Michaela Cicerelli, who is instrumental in assisting in not only the marketing and catering, but runs Original Grain. So, been fortunate to have really two great leaders that are not only great leaders, right, but great brand ambassadors, and want to continue to grow and see the light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. Yeah.
I feel like when I deal with them, I'm feeling like it's an extension of what, you know what I mean? They're executing your vision, but they're also just, they treat people well, they treat the vendors well. I mean, and that's the key. You talked about partnerships. Did all the vendors at Syracuse, did they go to Rochester with you? Or
Yeah.
So
certainly a couple that aren't, your local produce guy is going to be your local produce guy in that city, so that's a little bit different. But yeah, for the most part, we've been, like I said, fortunate to establish some great relationships and meet some really cool people, and hopefully those people.
So when you're looking for a new location, so say you were going to go to whatever, what do you look for? What's the biggest thing that you try to see? Okay, so if someone says, hey, I think you'd be great in whatever. What do you look for? I mean, are you looking for a certain location? Are you looking for a certain demographic? Are you looking for a certain... Is there something that you sit there and say, I need these three things?
I think it's a little bit of everything. I really like to spend a few days in a period in the city, seeing the day parts, seeing the night parts, not only just foot traffic, but what the people are like, what they're wearing, what are they listening to, what are they watching, There's, I think, a lot of factors that, go into picking a location. I think, you can create a great destination. It doesn't have to be in a specific area where there's a heavy foot traffic pattern. I mean, look at Exo Taco. A lot of people probably thought that we were crazy by picking that location.
I didn't think you were crazy because I thought the concept was there wasn't a concept like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was crazy. And the building was so cool to begin with.
Yeah.
I did go, like that moment, like, are you going to be able to get people there? But again, to answer the question, I think it's it's a lot of different things that go into picking, and I think the first is other people saying like, hey, you should go here, and then the thought pops into your head, well, maybe we should do Buffalo, or maybe we should do Ithaca, or maybe we should do Camillus, or maybe we should go out to Fayetteville. And I think it's all timing, right place, right time, meet the right people. We're certainly not in a rush to make any any really crazy moves, but we're excited about the future. We have some cool things coming up. Obviously, some other brands, as you know. So, well, I've heard about some of those, but I wouldn't. My thing is, I look at like some of the chain. I'm not a huge chain guy, but they do bring some value to the market. They bring processes. They bring good food, and in some cases, they bring low quality food too. But I look at like Bonefish and Carrabba's. They haven't expanded. They've said, here we are. Here it is. If you want it, come get it. And I think of you as that if you were to go, and I've had this conversation with a couple other people in Syracuse, well, if I go there and Fayetteville, Camillus, I'm just taking from that, from what I already get. And I think that's a smart move. I think that makes sense. You don't expand just to expand. Expand where the opportunity is greatest.
Sure.
Is important. And you don't lose that brand identity because you can control that. So I don't know if that's has the market changed? I know it's been crazy, and it's been good and it's been bad, but you and I have talked a lot, probably daily. It's been good business-wise for you guys, but you've been able to adapt.
Yeah.
Is there do you see moving forward anything else that we're going to have to adapt to besides what we're going through now?
I just think you always have to be able to, move and pivot and adapt. This is certainly a challenge, but any good operator in good company is going to find ways to manipulate, their current structure and their current, whatever they're doing, and adapt to a specific situation at a certain time or a certain pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to, I think, develop, something special with the brands and been able to adapt and pivot in directions where needed. And I'm, optimistic of the future, but certainly, aware that, that adaptation might need to happen,
Right.
probably again, if not again, many times.
So this concept that we've been talking about and working on, and I'm not going to mention it, but
Sure.
I know you and I have talked about it. But do you have it? Do you try it somewhere and sit there and? I mean,
Yeah.
is that what it literally is? I had it somewhere and boom, I want to, and then I want to just. I mean, how long does it take you to go from I see it and I eat it, or I see it and I want to try it, to going, okay, now I know what I got to. I mean, how long is that process in your head?
I think the timetable varies, right? There's a lot of obviously outside factors and influences that may or may not, I think, put you in a direction to be able to execute as quickly as you want. And naturally, when you come up with a really cool idea in your head, you're like, man, I want to get it done. I want to get it done. But sometimes it doesn't work like that. There's a lot of, I think, steps to the process, and certainly other things, behind closed doors that need to be addressed, which is current operations, current successes, current everything else. So,
But do you go home and say, I'm going to try this and make it? And
yeah, I mean, usually
Right,
in the evenings and on the weekends, mainly Sunday, is the days where I sort of do my sort of really outside the box creative thinking. And those times happen throughout the day on occasion. We write them down, but I mean, using the restaurants and is sort of platforms, right? Because they're already established for the next concept, or setting up meetings with other individuals for other ideas, for products or
I watched
services.
a Chick-fil-A YouTube video on how they make their chicken breast, and it was really, I mean, it's very simple, very interesting, but how they do it and how they get it so tender, and the equipment that they use is very specialized and very. So somebody was asking me about this concept of how they wanted to roll this out in a different way than Chick-fil-A, but I was sitting there saying, after watching them, it's not. It's quality product, quality ingredients, quality equipment, quality service, quality locations, and it just happens.
Yeah.
It's not that, like you said, it's not that hard, but some people try to skip one of those steps. We always say there's, price, service, and quality. Can't have all three unless you want to pay for them. Which one do you want to give up? It seems like you haven't had to do that. You've had great products, great success, great locations, great food, and it's worked for you.
Yeah.
Would you,
I think we've certainly had some, challenges and struggles along the way that probably, we aren't so, outward and verbose about, probably talking about publicly. I think every company does, but like I said, I think for the most part, it's being able to, I think, maneuver and pivot around certain challenges that occur on the day-to-day, and certainly occur in your tenure, and finding quick solutions, and making sure that those solutions are not only in line with, I think, the current, culture and the demands I think society has and consumers have, but are in line with, I think, everything else, including your existing operations and people and products and vendors and services, and making sure that it's all, right time, right place, right thing.
you tried the maybe not so good products and maybe not so good things, and you've learned from that mistake. What other mistakes have you sat there and said, geez, I've learned from, and I wish I had listened. It's like we say to a lot of customers, don't do this. If you want it, we'll do it, but don't do it. Have you had that happen to you where someone said, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, probably more times on a daily basis than I want to, but I think everyone's got daily and or those moments and breaking points, and I think their careers or in their personal life, they're like, hey, maybe I should steer in this direction because this happened one time, or this didn't happen another time, and I really want this to happen. So I think it's really understanding those moments, embracing those moments, and then making sure that you're able to, I think, again, put on a positive attitude and get out in the world and be a contributing member in a good way.
How is it with SU back? I watched last night with Paul Valente on the donut, and he's on the Glazed and Confused, and he's like, after it was about the 100 kids all in the one, and the school might close, and he was just like, we need them to use their head, and we need them to, because they have such an important part of the fabric of not only Syracuse, but our economic climate and everything that they bring with, 18,000 people coming into Syracuse. Are they back? Are they coming in?
Yeah,
already?
they are.
Because they're a big part of what Lemoyne and SU
Yep.
and the high school kid, everything, right? So
yeah, they're back. When the students are back, certainly it's a lot busier for us. But at the same point in time, can't hate the students and the kids for being kids. They're just kids.
Yeah.
So it's, how can we now adapt, right, and be safer and be more responsive and be more for them so that they can enjoy what they enjoy, which is being a college student.
See now, like Strong Hearts has a location in their new location in downtown, but then they have a little satellite. Has anybody approached you about that idea?
Lots of times, yeah.
You just don't want to.
Yeah.
Or is it
Again,
too hard to?
Not that you don't want to. It's right place, right time. We've again been really, I think, fruitful in our labors for downtown and being able to draw that clientele into the downtown community, which I think essentially sprinkles into other shops and restaurants and salons and businesses. So I think that's important. So I don't know. I certainly thought about it, but I also, again, you don't want to really put another one of your brands at a disadvantage, certainly replicating one.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of being sort of that, cross-section to, having students and teachers and nurses and, hospital workers come downtown, right, and spend their money with the downtown community. I think that's important.
Marshall Street's always an interesting, because things go in and out of Marshall Street, and I just shake my head because they have so much eds and meds, and but some of the people that have been there forever just they're
Fair.
Yeah, look at the Varsity and look at Fagan's and look at some other things.
Really good brands.
They do a really good brand, and they do a nice job. But then you see other ones just in and out, in and out. And, we're working on 2 right now, and we're surprised. The other concepts didn't last very long.
Yeah.
What is the biggest thing now moving forward in for EXO and OG? What's your biggest goal that you want to do? Is it just to maintain what you have, or is it grow?
No, I think it's continued on the same path. The vision's not going to go away. We still want to continue to grow. The vision is to replicate EXO and do more stores. The vision for OG is to continue on the path and to replicate and to do more stores. Obviously, there's other, like I said, products and concepts that we want to do internally that, again, it's just right place, right time, right frame of mind, and when it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, we're still not going to, stop thinking about it. We're still going to have that guide us.
Yeah. So for our listeners, and I hope there's many of these, I want to mention, too, that thank you. You're the first podcast to bring me something to drink or eat. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I won't say anything about the other person that owns multi-locations and didn't bring me anything.
Oh.
But he's, we both know him. We both know him. So, typical day. I know you get up early. What's, go through this, a typical day.
Oh, geez. Get up, computer, coffee, lots of water. Usually it's a workout first thing in the morning after I check emails. I'll do emails first just to get my mind going and have some, I think, mental tasks. And that's really, I think, a good setup for me to get into sort of this flow where I have all these things kind of, whether it's a to-do list that I'm looking at with emails, and then I have all this information that now I can get, into sort of an adrenaline rush in working out and in making sure that these things are on the forefront of my mind and really problem solving in my head as I'm, out there running around and, doing burpees and, doing other stuff. But
does it get easier to solve problems as you get longer in your, I noticed as the more I do this, the more I have solutions.
Yeah, I think so.
But yet today, I've been struggling with this walk-in cooler for literally 2 months trying to figure it out. I sent a guy out there and he figured it out. He's like, I'm just going to do this, boom. It's all fixed.
Yeah.
But literally for 2 months, I've been trying to like, do I fix the floor? Do I cut the opening? Do I do this? Who does this? Who does that? Do you find it easier as you go through?
Some things
You know?
yes, some things no.
Yeah.
Some things are still first time. I think we're always learning.
Yeah.
I tell my people this all the time that work at OG and XO. It's like, if you're not always, entering a situation or a room or a conversation with sort of like your learning hat on, you shouldn't be probably in that room or, having that conversation.
But is your style, like when I talk about your management style, is it people, here's the vision, execute it? Do you tell them what to do, or do they say, okay, yeah, okay, I like that idea, but what about this? I mean, like I know in our job, it's here's what we want to do, here's our vision. We listen to what the customer wants, and then we execute the vision.
Yeah, I think
same with you.
That you have sort of this drawn out box of things that are in it that you want and foresee, but you're obviously taking into account staffing, employee needs, what the consumer ideally wants, and obviously constructive criticism from I think leadership teams. What do they want? What do they foresee? What are they hearing? But at the end of the day, I think you hit it on the head with, it's ultimately, getting people together and sitting down in a room and figuring out what is the best, right, for the customer. What is the best for the product and the brand? Because if we focus on those, we'll certainly, reap the rewards.
What was the name of the show that I listened to that you texted me and said? And you guys were all, it was later at night, and there was one with the wine and one with the bourbon.
So that was for my friend John Timmerman, who he owns, or I'm sorry, I forget how the structure is, but they have a Noble so they're doing this big conference. It was supposed to be this September, but it's next September. Gary Vaynerchuk and a bunch of like entrepreneurs are supposed to be coming in and speaking. They've been really cool and asked me to do the same thing.
They asked you a good question, and you're not. This isn't you graduated from Lemoyne, Cortland with a degree in
education.
So completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, food service, but the passion shows. So what made you think? I know what made you think I want to be because I listened to it. Education, but then what drove you to this?
I always had a passion for culinary. I was always really just strong in it. I think just artistically, I like that more. I think it was just, again, opportunity, right place, right time. Certainly the goal that I had in my head when I was, 21, 22 didn't really align with the goal that I had when I was 24, 25, 26. Yeah. And those goals change daily and yearly. So, once I was sort of in teaching, my goal, kind of, again, shifted, and I wanted to become in business and really pursue culinary and pursue, I think, that path.
What did you learn in that education side that transposed over to this side? Because obviously when you talk about organization and business skills, and that's not taught there. You're obviously very good at that, multitasking and organizational and business skills. Where does that come from?
I think it's people. I think it's just, being an educator, you're learning about people, right? What human interaction really means, right? How to control a room, how to, again, take information and present it to, multiple sort of learning styles and levels, right? So I think that's the greatest thing that we take away, is because we have all these, we have these brands. Within those brands, there's a lot of information, whether that be production, food, quality, again, customer service and or hospitality, and those specific, titles have certain subheaders underneath them, and those subheaders have, other information and things underneath them. So it's like, how do you take all this information and present it to, the individuals that you have in your organization? So I think that's, the biggest piece that I've been able to take away from the education is, again, teaching, right, my leadership team, teaching my kitchen staff, teaching our bartenders, educating our dish guys. It's that piece.
And that takes a lot, because there's not a lot of people that have that. I know in our field, it's patience runs thin sometimes. In the food service, it's always, I just finished a quote yesterday, and the guy wants the drawings today, and I'm like, you know how long it takes to redo those drawings, but that expectation is there. It seems like that's a good thing to have, where you have that patience.
Sometimes, you just got to slow it down a little bit and make sure that the information is easily digestible. You don't want it to come out bad on the other end. You know what I mean?
No, that's Are you saying that I've been short with you before? Is that what you're saying?
No.
I can't believe that.
That was a did he understand that as a metaphor?
I didn't understand that. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I know you're busy.
Thank you for having me. It's been fun.
You.
It's always good chatting with you.
Yes, thank you.